Hello and welcome back on my channel Aperture 1.4. The question of today is, which analog 35mm camera should you buy? Are you new to analog photography? Maybe you have already taken pictures with a digital compact camera, a digital single lens reflex camera or a digital mirrorless camera. And now you want something older, a nice analog 35mm single lens reflex camera. And then you look around on the internet or you stand in front of the windows of the Photoshops and are overwhelmed by the variety of offers. There is a very big selection of single lens reflex cameras for the 35mm format. Canon, Nikon, Minolta, Pentax, Ricoh, Zeiss Ikon, Voigtländer, Praktica, Yashica, Contax, just to name the best known brands. And of course many more. And each brand offers countless models. Phew! Now you're thinking, I need help. Watch the video to the end and then, hey, the decision is not that difficult. The first question is the recording format. Basically, you have already decided on the shooting format. It should be the 35mm format. A very good idea, a very good choice if you want to start with analog photography, because the films are not that expensive and you have a great choice of different films. You can get films in all Photoshops or drugstores, at least here in Germany. I myself prefer to have the negatives or slides developed and, if necessary of course, digitized in specialist laboratories, in special labs. Of course, you can give your film back to a drugstore here in Germany and get your films developed back. But the best quality offers special labs. You can find detailed information on the subjects of films and digitalization on my homepage Aperture 1.4. The next question is autofocus or rather enjoy the complete feeling of manual focusing. The answer is quite simple. If you want to shoot architecture photography or silent landscapes, you can go and buy an manual focusing camera. Even if you are into street photography or want to see the small macro photography, you also can choose manual focusing cameras. On the other side, if you are a sports photographer or you want to take photos of fast-moving children, or you want to shoot photos of your children playing football or baseball or whatever, and the subject moves here and there, then please go and take an autofocus camera. But I think not an autofocused 35mm film camera. A film with 35 exposures can be quite short if you shot 8 or 10 or 5 frames a second. Then go for a digital camera and you can shoot 10 frames, 20 frames a second, and it will save you very much money. The next question is seeing things through the viewfinder. Yes, you are thinking, oh man, what are you talking about? Here, I look through the viewfinder. Here in back of the camera is my viewfinder. and I focus and I check the aperture and I check the shutter speed and then I take a photo. Yes, here the viewfinder. What are you talking about? But is that really always the case? No, of course not. Manufacturers offered so-called interchangeable viewfinders for their top models. Top models are, you see here, a Canon F1 or F1 New, or you think about the Nikon F2, Nikon F3, Nikon F4 with autofocus, or the snappy autofocus on the Nikon F5, which offers also interchangeable viewfinders. I'd like to show you two kinds of viewfinders, and this viewfinder is for the Canon F1 Old. It's the light shaft viewfinder. You put here a little knob, then it flips off, and you see, not like this here, no, this viewfinder comes on the top of the camera and you look from above and see your subject. And another nice thing is that most of these viewfinders have got a loop here. And then you can focus extremely exactly with this loop. Another type of viewfinder is this one here, is for the Canon F1, and I will show you how this viewfinder works. This is the magnifying viewfinder for the Canon F1, Canon F1 New. And you put the Prism viewfinder away, and then, here it is, you put this viewfinder also on top of the camera, and now you can look from above and you see your subject here. The entry viewfinder image is magnified. Some of these viewfinders offer diopter adjustment, so that you can do without your visual aid if necessary. With this viewfinder too, the view is from above and the image is also upright but inverted. Due to the magnification of the entry viewfinder image, the domain clearly lies in macro photography. But I use this viewfinder quite a lot for all kind of photography, landscapes photography, macro photography of course, and for architectural photography. Okay, the first question is answered. It's the format. The second is answered. It is autofocus or non-autofocus. And the third question is the viewfinder, and you can choose, if you like, a camera with interchangeable viewfinders. The next question is, what exposure control do you really need? Manual exposure, aperture priority, shutter priority, or program automatic? Of course, from a technical point of view, all pictures should be correctly exposed. Most 35mm cameras offer a built-in light meter for this purpose. to expose a picture. And it doesn't matter which camera, which shooting format, whether analog or digital, only two settings are necessary. The aperture, here, the aperture and the shutter speed. You can find detailed information of this on my homepage apertureonepointfour.com. If you shoot purely manual without a light meter, you have to estimate the aperture and the shutter speed, which I would only recommend for the best photographers. When you shoot with aperture priority, you pre-select the aperture. You see it here. Camera, automatic mode for the shutter speed, and you pre-select the aperture. The camera automatically determines the correct shutter speed for the selected aperture. With aperture priority, it is the other way round. You select the desired shutter speed, you see it here, 1000, 500, 250 and so on, 30, 50, 8, 1 second. And the camera adjusts the aperture. You see it here, aperture at A, automatic mode, and you select the shutter speed. When using Program Automatic, the camera automatically selects shutter speed and aperture. Some cameras offer special program automatics for sports photography, for an example. Here the camera automatically selects a shorter shutter speed so that the movement is frozen. I do not recommend this type of automatic for photography as it is too restrictive. You can't choose the shutter speed, either the aperture. Before buying, find out about the prices of used lenses for your chosen system and about the range of accessoires. All the manufacturers mentioned above offered a wide and deep range of almost all photographic tasks, except for a few special cases. I myself shoot in the analog SLR field with numerous systems from Canon, Nikon, Minolta, Zeiss Ikon, Voigtländer, Contax, Ricoh and Pentax. There is only the aperture and the shutter speed. And since there is only the aperture and the shutter speed, I can't tell you which camera is the best for you. Just go out, look at cameras, hold them in your hands, and then decide from your gut. I like this camera, I want this camera, and then go out and have fun just taking pictures. I wish you a nice year, 2022, and I hope we see us next year. Goodbye.